Welcome back. Our legal counsel, Charlie O'Hara, back in the studio this morning. If you have a question, get on the phone now and give us a call. Good morning, Charlie. Good to have you here.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. We're going to go ahead and get to the phones right now. We have several people already on the line. Good morning. What's your question for Charlie?
Oh, I was calling to ask, how long do a person have to be missing before they can be declared dead?
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know that there's any specific time. I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, depending on why the person left and whether anybody's heard from the person, how long they haven't heard from them, I think you're really going to have to probably go to a lawyer and check that out. It'd have to be something you looked at, but I think that there's some kind of presumption after you haven't been heard from for so long that you can go to court and have somebody declared that they're not alive anymore. But,
okay, but clearly it has to be a certain amount of time.
Yes, and I don't think I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, obviously, we've got to know that the person hasn't been heard from by anybody. And, of course, in today's society with credit cards and driver's license and passports and electronics like they are, if somebody's still alive, you probably ought to be able to find them if you really look.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. We're going to go ahead and go back to the phones. Good morning. What's your question?
I have an observation. I want your take on it. Okay, the female teacher that got in trouble for sexual activity in Clearwater versus the one in the Plain. Seems like she's getting off awful light with 18 months, and they want to throw the book to him. Is it gender related, or what is it?
Well, I understand your question. I think there's a lot more to that. I don't know the specifics of both cases, but I think they were actually charged with different crimes. And different crimes have different punishments. And actually, there's kind of a thought process in the United States, I think, that everybody charged with one crime ought to get the same punishment. And that's really not how the system works. It depends on a lot of circumstances. I mean, somebody that's never been in trouble before, is a real good person, made a mistake, is treated one way. Someone that continues to violate the law or continues to do the same thing over and over again and doesn't seem to learn from their mistakes are punished differently. So to say that people aren't punished the same, you have to know the circumstances of what's going on. We just don't carte blanche say that we're going to do one guy gets this, so everybody else gets this. We look at the circumstances and the person and sometimes how they've really handled it and whether they've changed their lives and they're doing the right thing. I mean, we have to look at all those factors before we know how to punish somebody.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
Okay.
We'll go ahead, go back to the phones. One more caller on the line. Good morning. What's your question for Charlie?
Yes. I had hired a guy who claimed to be a licensed, bonded house remodeler. I gave him $15,000 to do a job as per his estimate. He did maybe a third of the work and paid himself $15,000 out of the $25,000 he said he was charging to do the total job. He couldn't bleed me for any more money, so he just disappeared. My question is, what can I do? I went to a district attorney, and I'm in the process of giving them the information they need, but...
Okay, well, that's one thing you can do is go to the district attorney, and that makes sense, the consumer fraud. I think with that much money exchanging hands, you may want to go see an attorney. I mean, you had a $25,000 contract and $15,000 that you paid them. That's a lot of money, and if the guy did half the job, he may have torn it up and made it worse than it was when it started. And you may need somebody to try to locate this person because they may be doing it to other people too. So I would advise you with that kind of money that you ought to go see an attorney, ask for their advice. Whenever you hire somebody, you've really got to be careful and kind of call around and make sure that these are people that are reliable and that they show up and check things out, and be careful giving them too much money to begin with. That can always be a problem too.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
Okay.
Thank you again for calling in with those questions, and as always, we appreciate you coming in the studio, giving your time to us.